Good evening, and you are watching the Live Today show, an interactive show here on CAN TV 21. We are also streaming live on cantv.org/hotline. That is cantv.org/hotline. Now, the next 25 minutes is your opportunity to call in with your questions or comments. So please feel free to call the number at the bottom of your screen, and that number is 312-738-1060. Again, that number is 312-738-1060. And that also goes for you guys watching on Facebook Live. I'm Dr. Cherie, the founder of the Live Today Foundation, where our mission is to provide joy, inspiration, and free compression garments to under-resourced breast cancer survivors living with lymphedema. Now, we also want you guys to follow us and make sure you check us out on our website at www.live-today.org. Please feel free to email us at info@live-today.org, and feel free to give us a call at 754-220-0234. Now, we also want you guys to follow us on social media. We can be found on social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And you can find us at livetoday.org. That's livetoday.org. Oh my goodness, guys, I am super excited because today we are joined by a very special guest, Dr. Sylvia Hood Washington, who happens to be an environmental epidemiologist, an environmental engineer, and an environmental historian. She is also a published author, and she is going to be here sharing some of her words of wisdom. I am so glad that you're joining us, Dr. Sylvia. She's going to share with us some of her expertise, and I'm so glad that you took the time out of your very busy schedule to share your expertise with our audience. Okay. Now we have a few questions that we're going to want to ask Dr. Sylvia, but I also want to remind you guys of what Live Today is all about. Now, I want you guys to remember that the Live Today Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit organization with three primary goals. The first is to educate healthcare professionals about how to properly diagnose lymphedema and to make them aware of the psychosocial impact of lymphedema on a survivor's life. Number two, we want to educate patients about the importance of treatment and to make them aware of all of their treatment options. And third, we want to provide free compression garments to the under-resourced and uninsured and underinsured breast cancer survivors who are living with lymphedema. And your support will continue to allow us to be able to do what we want to do. So remember, if you want to find out how to support us, please go out to our website at none other than www.live-today.org. And again, you can send us information at info@live-today.org, or you can certainly give us a call at 754-220-0234 if you want to know how you can support the Live Today Foundation. And now I am so very grateful. Now I want you guys to remember, this is an interactive show. We have a prominent guest with us here this evening. So feel free to call in with your questions or comments. Again, that's for you too, Facebook Live. Call in at the number at the bottom of your screen. That number is 312-738-1060. Now, Dr. Sylvia, with all of your accolades, it is clear and evident that you have demonstrated and you know how to take charge of your life in spite of adversities. So I want you to share with our audience briefly how it was that you came to be diagnosed with primary lymphedema. I've already explained previously, I have secondary lymphedema. I acquired lymphedema as a result of my treatment for my breast cancer throughout all of the radiation, the removal of the lymph nodes, and so I developed lymphedema in this right arm, hand, and fingers as a result of the treatment. But you have a condition called primary lymphedema. How was it that you came to be diagnosed with primary lymphedema?
Well, I became diagnosed with primary lymphedema in 1987.
Okay.
And I was a NASA engineer. And I was sitting at my desk. I was the first African-American female journey engineer for NASA Region 5. And my legs...
You say NASA.
NASA, National Aeronautics Space Administration.
I told you.
But let me just add this for the audience, is that I'm also a certified lymphatic therapist,
Yes.
LANA. So I'm like one of 75 CLT-LANA therapists within 500 miles of Chicago. And so my treatment for lymphedema really comes about after I'm certified as a lymphatic therapist. I was born with lymphedema. My mother was a nurse. They told her before I could get out of the hospital I had a staph infection, and I couldn't get out of the hospital for at least 6 weeks after birth. I was the last of 8 children. They told her, your child is going to have a compromised immune system. But nobody really knew what that meant. I think the formal diagnosis came in 1987. I'm sitting at my desk in my power suit, my power pumps, you know, the only African-American female engineer in a room full of male engineers.
Yes.
We had to wear heels. We had to be dressed for success. And I walked from lunch to my office, and both of my legs swell up to 2.5 times their size.
Whoa.
People thought, oh my gosh, you must have broken your legs. You must have twisted your legs on the way from the meeting. I says, no, I don't feel anything at all. So here, this is Cleveland, Ohio, home of Cleveland Clinic, the home of University Hospitals. And so I can't even put on my stockings. I can't put on my shoes. My shoes went from a size 8 to a size 12 shoe in less than 48 hours. And so I'm taking through all this imaging, and it was like, something has to be wrong with her. And so, you know, elimination of deep vein thrombosis, they did everything. And they finally did the a lymphoscintigraphy, and they said, I'm sorry to tell you, you're 28 years old, but this is a condition that we cannot treat. Now, this is 1987. And they says, you'll just have to readjust and change your whole wardrobe to accommodate this leg and this feet. And that actually was not the proper advice for me.
No.
So then fast forward 2 years later, and I'm pregnant with my first child. My husband and I expected our first child. This is 1989. And I go from a size 6 dress to a size, to like 70 pounds in 2 months during my pregnancy. Now this is actually an indication of primary lymphedema. No one can put on that much fluid. So the doctor's like, this does not make any sense. I'm not eating anything. But my lymphatic system had basically overloaded. And this happens to a lot of women too.
A lot of women. And now this is why the primary goal for Live Today is so important. If you guys remember, I said that the primary goal was to educate health professionals about how to properly diagnose lymphedema and how to make them aware of the psychosocial impact of lymphedema on a survivor's life. Here is a prime indication of her being at, you know, a prominent institution, and physicians did not know
Exactly.
what she had. And even though you may say that that was back in 1987, certainly we have progressed since then. I'm here to tell you, throughout my travels throughout this country and abroad, we have made little bit of budge room when it comes to their ability to properly diagnose primary and secondary lymphedema. And that can lead to, as it did with her, I'm sure, a lot of angst. You're 28. All of this is happening to you. Were you married at the time?
Married.
Married. Any children yet?
No, it was my first child. We have been married 10 years. It was our first child. I was exercising every day. I mean, I was in tip-top shape. NASA had their own physical fitness facilities.
Yes.
So I was like totally active, had my nutrition down pat. But this is something that if you have primary lymphedema, your lymphatic system is already compromised from birth. It is a congenital birth defect. And it not only creates disorders of lymphedema, but it also creates cardiovascular issues, which I was having in my pregnancy.
See, guys, here, I want you guys to remember that if you want to find out more information about lymphedema and how to support us, please go out to www.live-today.org. Feel free to shoot us an email at info@live-today.org. And always, you can feel free to give us a call at 754-220-0234. And remember, don't forget, follow us on social media on the platforms of Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at livetoday.org. That is livetoday, DOTORG. Now, Dr. Sylvia, I want you to share with the audience, how has this diagnosis of primary lymphedema impacted your life, personally and professionally?
Well, personally, because no one really gave me the right advice. I mean, I take that back. Cleveland Clinic re-diagnosed me after my first child. And by the time I had my first child was a cesarean. Every time they cut through your body, whether it's a C-section, whether it's a anything to do with the heart, hip replacement, knee replacement, every time they cut through you, they cut through lymphatic vessels, which is about 1,000 vessels. So when they cut me to deliver me my first baby, my lymphedema became worse, but no one explained that to me. So not only did I have swollen legs, I had a swollen arm, I had a swollen hand, and so my clothes couldn't fit. No amount of dieting would deal with that actual disease. Lymphedema is a disease. And so people need to understand whether you have the lymph nodes removed, whether the lymph nodes have been compromised from birth in the womb, you will never be able to function. You will never be able to lose weight the way people normally lose weight, because your lymphatic vessels are completely altered or maybe missing.
Wow.
Or you maybe have too many of them.
That's amazing. Now, I've been just notified that we have a caller on the line. Caller, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Fantastic. Can you tell us your name and give us your question or comment?
Sure, I'm Kirk calling from Wisconsin. I have a question.
Okay, Kirk, please go right ahead.
Yeah, my wife recently has been diagnosed, so I just need to know what to expect if she's going to have surgery and breast removed, and what I can do to help her.
Okay, Dr. Sylvia.
Well, you know, I've been married 38 years, and my husband has seen me with this journey. Actually, he saw me in college, but that's another story. This was occurring all the time. I think the most important thing that a spouse or a partner can do for their loved one is to not body shame them, to understand that their struggle once they have those nodes removed, that weight loss, that swelling, is not something that they're electing to do by not eating right, by not exercising. Now that will make it worse, but you need to look at the fact that she might be dealing with a disease and there is no cure for that disease. And so getting out and encouraging her to walk, encouraging her to just do things that will actually move that lymphatic fluid back up. The fluid is running distal to proximal back into the heart. So just being there and understanding that her body is not the body in a magazine that would a Pure Barre membership or yoga membership. She's going to be nice and thin. She might have to struggle with that.
Yes.
Because her body has been altered to not process food and liquids the same way.
Kirk, thank you so much for calling in, because, you know, Dr. Sylvia and I, as patients, you know, can really share our story from a patient perspective, but awesome of you to call in from a caregiver perspective. And kudos to you for taking the proactive stance of figuring out, well, what can I do proactively, and how can I prepare myself and my wife for this potential complication?
Oh, great. Well, thank you, ladies, for what you're doing.
Thank you as well. You take care. Feel free to call in on another show.
On the show.
Fantastic. Thank you. Bye-bye. Now, Dr. Sylvia, you mentioned something, you mentioned several fantastic things for us to take into consideration. But I love what you said with regards to, one, lymphedema is a disease. And then two, don't necessarily have this expectation that there will be certain things that you could do that's going to automatically make everything all svelte and nice and neat and trim and thin. So with you and I now having received the proper diagnoses, can you share with us, and you are a certified therapist, can you share with us what is the mainstay of treatment when it comes to lymphedema? I mean, I know that there are a number of treatment options out there, and that's part of what the Live Today show will do. We will be sharing with you guys other treatment options, but what is the mainstay of treatment for lymphedema?
So as a certified lymphatic therapist, and especially one who's CLT-LANA, the Lymphology Association for North America, when you are certified as a lymphedema therapist, they clearly lay out what is called complete decongestion therapy, CDT.
Okay.
So they need a patient who's diagnosed with lymphedema, whether it's primary or secondary, need to, if they're in stage 2, for instance, there's like 4 stages of lymphedema. If they're swollen and the swelling does not resolve overnight, that individual goes into treatment and they'll get manual lymphatic drainage.
Okay.
And that physical therapy technique reduces the swelling in addition to getting compression wrapping, which then follows with the compression garment. So it's manual lymphatic drainage, compression, decompression with garments or by wrapping. And then there is basically a nutritional protocol and an exercise routine. What you're trying to do basically is move that fluid, which is accumulating, and pushing it back up into the emptying points, your terminal points for the lymphatic system, which is what they call your supraclavicular fossa, right above your collarbones.
Okay.
You're pushing the fluid up and over
area.
into this terminal point. And the garments allow the fluid to keep pushing upward.
Okay.
From distal to proximal. It pushes it up so it could dump into the SCF, supraclavicular fossa, and drain the body. Now, it depends on whether the individual has lower extremity or upper extremity, but still the objective is the same. Now, I have a master's in systems and control engineering from Case Western Reserve. I was the first African American woman to get the master's in systems and control engineering from Case Western Reserve before I went to NASA. The lymphatic system is a system. And so everything that you see in terms of therapy is that you're basically trying to do several different techniques to move the fluid in the system back to where it always will naturally empty, right at this point.
Right at that
so
point.
you use the garments after you have manual lymphatic drainage. You use the garments. You walk. You engage in a type of exercise, and walking is excellent for it.
Yes,
Because
I agree.
Walking allows you to use that, what you call muscle calf pump, which pushes that fluid back up, distal to proximal. The lymphatic system is just like the venous system. It is a distal to proximal return without the support of the heart.
Okay.
All right?
Yes.
Your arterial system has the heart to push the blood through, but the veins and the lymphatic system do not have the help of the heart. So we have to use the compression to push the fluid up. We have to walk and actually push that fluid back up toward those terminal points and clearing it and getting it back into the heart.
Exactly.
So manual lymphatic drainage, compression, walking, and for some of us, a lot of us, especially if you've had lymphedema for a long time, they're showing that ketogenic diets that are very low in carb, hardly any carbs, supports that burning down of actual adipose tissue, fatty tissue that builds up for people who have lymphedema.
Got it.
I hope that's not a mouthful.
It was, but I think our listeners got that. Now, one of the things that I want to remind you guys, please remember you can follow us on social media, on all the platforms of Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at livetoday.org. That's livetoday.org. And one of the things that I want to share with you guys is, as Dr. Sylvia is speaking, you can find on our website the various different stages of lymphedema. And you will see that we have the different stages here, and we have stages, here's 1, stage 2, stage 3, and stage 4. Now, what I would like to do is to have Dr. Sylvia just kind of walk us through, maybe, because we only have a few minutes left, walk us through one thing real quickly. What would you say would be the major difference between treating someone with stage 1 lymphedema versus an individual with stage 4 lymphedema?
Well, let me add another stage. There's actually a stage 0.
Yes, this is true. Yes.
There's a stage 0 where a person just sort of feels like their body feels heavy. Then you have a stage 1 where you actually start seeing swelling, but the swelling just resolves itself overnight.
Right.
That's stage 1. Stage 2, you're moving into a stage where the fluid is building up in the tissues, but it's not clearing overnight. And then stage 3, you're pretty much at a point where this tissue has been filled with the fluid, has not resolved overnight. It's starting to become fibrotic and very voluminous and very hard to deal with. In 4, you can actually go into amputation and a type of cancer. Now, for stage 0, which is what I always tell my clients when I see them, stage 0, you just know that you don't feel right. Something is wrong, especially if you've had cancer and you've had node removal. You just feel heavy.
Correct.
That's when you should start getting garments on prophylactically, something in a preventative measure.
Yes.
Now, I see clients every week. And for some reason, I'm bringing in a lot of primary patients, but I do have cancer patients. And so I tell a patient, you know what, if you're in stage 1, and you had those nodes removed, your arm is swelling, you can see it's visibly swelling. It's resolving overnight, but my goodness, get in there and get a compression garment.
Yes.
So that compression will keep pushing that fluid back and up into its terminal points where it needs to go, and it won't build up.
Yes.
Stage 2, we're talking about going in and doing the decongestion therapy. At that point, the fluid has not receded, it's built up, the leg has increased in volume, it's becoming hard, sometimes tender, and so you need to have a certified lymphatic therapist start to wrap the body.
Yes.
Reduce
or wrap the affected limb.
Wrap the affected limb. Reduce the volume of fluid in the impacted limb. And get it to a point where it's at a steady state.
There we go.
Okay, you're just engineering fluid return. I mean, this is like sheer engineering issue.
And this is what's so interesting is because she is an environmental engineer, right? And then ended up with a condition, and now so she can speak in these terms. Now we only have 3 minutes left in the show. I want you to just briefly tell, how has the Live Today Foundation affected you or helped you?
Oh my gosh, you're an incredible speaker. And you are an incredible. No. We had a chance to go to a lymphedema conference together. I think the energy that you bring to making people aware of what this disease is.
Thank you.
The dedication and the commitment to getting garments to people who otherwise could not afford it is life-changing.
Thank you.
So it's Live Today for so many different reasons, and I think you are an incredible person, a cheerleader. You yourself have seen how lymphedema can transform our lives and move us into directions that we never thought we would be in. So I think this is an incredible organization.
Thank you.
And I think it needs to be supported for a lot of people who don't have the resources, whether it's psychological or financial, to get through this disease.
Fantastic. And see, and with that segue, if you want to find out how you can support the Live Today Foundation, please visit our website at www.live-today.org. Email us at info@live-today.org. Call us at 754-220-0234. And remember, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at livetoday.org. That is Live Today, DOTORG. Now, guys, I also want you to know we have to thank Dr. Sylvia for coming out this evening and joining us. We just did not have enough time. We're going to have her back. But guys, I want you to know you got to tune in next time, February 13th at 5:30 p.m., where our guest is going to be the very talented Yvette Battle Saunders. This beautiful woman is a 2-time breast cancer survivor. She is a fellow lymphedema patient, and she will share her personal story and how Live Today has impacted her life. I have to give thanks to my wonderful producers, Carlisa Crawford, Karen Roberts, and newly added to the list, Dr. Donald Prentice. And I have to give it up for Vibes. We are so very grateful for our Facebook family that has been following us live throughout this entire show on this evening. To our audience, thank you. Keep coming back. I pray that this show has been a blessing to you. And I'm looking forward to my nice little outro music as the Live Today Foundation signs off for its second show. And be looking out for our next show on February 13th. Remember, be present, take charge of your life, and live every day.